Invoicing is an important part of the billing process. After you create a sales order or a work order, invoices are the next step in the process of collecting payments and completing a transaction. But before you can collect those payments, you have to invoice your customers. There's a few different ways to create invoices in lieu. One of the most common ways to invoice is directly from a sales or work order. On an order that's ready for invoicing, simply click the Invoice button at the top of the page under Outcome. From here, you can make any adjustments as needed. For example, you can change the invoice date by clicking the Update button. This date must be between the date the order was created and today, but use this with caution as changing dates impacts your financial records. Sometimes you may want to process an invoice for a special order item or serialized SKU without a serial number. Lou will tell you that you can't invoice items that don't have serial numbers added, and those are typically available when the item is received. But perhaps this order contains other items ready to be delivered to the customer and you'd like to proceed with invoicing. No worries. You can do a partial invoice by simply deselecting SKUs that may not be ready to invoice quite yet. This will allow you to create another invoice later on when those SKUs have been received and a serial number has been added. Once you've selected all the SKUs that are ready, click the Create Invoice button, and then click Yes to confirm that you want to proceed with creating the invoice. Now your invoice has been created. Here, from the invoice profile, you can send your customers a printed or electronic version as a message where the customer can open a link to their customer portal. From the customer portal, your customers can view and pay the invoice online. Or, if your customer is presenting payment in person, you can open up the invoice and click the payment button. On the payment page, you would then enter the payment amount. If the customer has provided a payment on file method, you can choose that option to quickly enter the payment method. Or you could select one of the other payment options such as card, cash, check, or ACH. When payments collected reduce the balance of the invoice down to zero, Lou gets to work and performs a bunch of things for you, such as marking the invoice as completed, changing the SKUs from reserved to sold in inventory, and updating the FIFO logs for the SKUs sold on the invoice. Okay, so that was all about invoicing directly from an order, but you might be wondering what other options are there. If you're on Lou's service bundle and using work orders or create recurring orders, there's a couple additional ways to create invoices. Recurring orders are Lou's answer to maintenance contracts. Recurring orders automatically create work orders each month. This can result in a lot of work orders to be invoiced at the end of the month. Via the Operations tile, under Recurring Orders, you can use the Mass Invoice option. The main Mass Invoice page lists all of the open REOs by month. If you toggle On Invoice, Take a Payment, and Send Receipt, and choose a POS station, then the invoices will be created and will process payments for customers all in one action. You can click this box to select all invoices listed or check individual line items. When ready, you can click the Invoice button. After confirming your action, you'll receive a message that it'll take a bit to create those invoices and to check back later. At this point, when the process finishes, you can check the audit log to verify that the batch has been created. After a batch is created, then work orders are marked as complete and the invoices are created. From here, you can send customer statements to the customer for all invoices that did not have a payment on file by going to Operations and then clicking Customer Statements. Click the Send Statements button. Select the statements and then choose Print or Send Statements. In addition to the Mass Invoice option, for work orders, you may want to quickly review the order before an invoice is created. You can use the Review and Invoice option, also located under Operations. With just a few clicks, you can review the order, invoice the order, process a payment using a payment on file, and the door hanger, invoice, and statement can be sent electronically to the customer, all from one screen. Sometimes you may need to void an invoice. Maybe you've decided to wait until you've received all the SKUs on an order to invoice the entire order. that's fine. However, it's important to note if you have collected payments for an invoice already, you can still proceed with voiding the invoice, but the payment will be marked as unapplied and will sit as a credit on the customer's account. So now you're ready to start invoicing, that critical step between placing an order and collecting payments. Want to learn more about invoicing? Go to lossupport.evasys.com and search Invoice.